Imagine having the conviction, the discipline, and the mindset not just to dream of greatness, but to actually become a living legend. That's exactly what Conor the Notorious McGregor achieved. From humble beginnings in Dublin to rising as one of the most dominant and polarizing fighters in UFC history. How did he do it? Today, we'll explore how his stoic mentality, his inner fire, his resilience, his relentless focus pushed him to achieve feats that once seemed impossible. Some of his most impressive accomplishments include in December 2015, the Notorious shocked the world by knocking out José Aldo to win the UFC Featherweight Championship in just 13 seconds, the fastest finish ever in a UFC title fight. A year later, in November 2016, he made history again by defeating Eddie Álvarez at UFC 205, becoming the first fighter ever to hold two UFC belts simultaneously, featherweight and lightweight. Even before that, he built a streak of decisive knockouts against names like Diego Brandao, Dustin Poirier, and Chad Mendes, showcasing not only raw power, but also fight IQ, timing, distance control, and unshakable confidence. Today, we'll break down those moments and many others to understand which stoic principles, like self-mastery, acceptance of what we cannot control, visualization of the opponent, mental preparation, and courage in the face of risk, allowed McGregor not only to win fights, but to build the mindset of a true champion.
To understand how McGregor built his legacy, we have to look past the flashy knockouts and the big showdowns. The foundation of his success rests on discipline, resilience, and emotional control. These are pillars of Stoicism, and Conor lived them long before he ever headlined UFC events. 1. Discipline and obsession. There's no talent here. This is hard work. This is an obsession. From his younger years in Dublin, Conor didn't just train, he lived training. Every detail mattered: diet, timing, conditioning, fight IQ. Example, Conor once said, "I stay ready so I don't have to get ready." That is classic Stoicism, preparing for what you can control, your own readiness, so that external uncertainties, injuries, opponent, promotion delays, weaken in impact. This relentless training allowed him to move fast through smaller fight promotions, gaining experience and sharpening his technique. 2. Resilience in adversity. Early setbacks didn't break him. Losses, injuries, criticism, they all came, but Conor used them as fuel. He faced doubt, not just from critics, but from his environment. Yet he kept going. One clear moment, after losing or before many big fights, instead of giving up, he changed something. Maybe it was strategy, or training methods, or mindset. His ability to keep pushing even when expectations were low is a hallmark of stoic endurance. 3. Emotional control and focus. One of Conor's strengths has always been the ability to not overreact. He doesn't let rage or external drama derail him. On fight night, he's focused. Quote, "I hold no emotions while I'm in there. In there, it is just calm and creative." That captures what Stoics talk about, being in the moment, responding rather than reacting. Visualization. Conor speaks often about how he imagines fight scenarios, visualizes victory. These mental preparations help manage fear or pressure when the lights are on. 4. Turning success into more without losing the grounding. After achieving big wins like the 13-second knockout of José Aldo or becoming double champion, Conor didn't coast, he doubled down. He pushed to expand his brand, take on bigger challenges like boxing Floyd Mayweather or big PPV fights, even when risks were high. But holding on to stoic roots meant knowing what you can and cannot control. Training, preparation, your attitude, but not always the decision of judges, external hype, or criticism. So we see how discipline, resilience, and emotional control weren't just slogans for Conor McGregor. They were lived realities. In the next part, we'll analyze specific fights and moments of crisis in his career to see how he applied these stoic principles when it mattered most.
UFC 194, McGregor versus Aldo. One of the clearest examples of McGregor's stoic mindset in action came at UFC 194. After months of pressure, trash talk, and hype, Conor stepped into the octagon against José Aldo, a champion who hadn't lost in a decade. In that moment, most fighters would have been consumed by nerves, but Conor's calm was unshakable. Just 13 seconds later, Aldo was on the canvas and McGregor stood as the new featherweight champion. This wasn't luck. It was the result of visualization, timing, and the stoic ability to stay composed under chaos. UFC 202, McGregor versus Nate Diaz 2. But Stoicism isn't only about victory. It's about how you respond to defeat. In March 2016, McGregor suffered a shocking submission loss to Nate Diaz at UFC 196. Many said his career was over, that the hype train had crashed. Instead of collapsing, Conor came back stronger. He analyzed the loss, corrected his mistakes, and returned 5 months later at UFC 202. In a 5-round war, he showed not just power, but discipline and strategy, winning a majority decision and silencing critics. That resilience, the ability to face failure without letting it define you, is straight out of the Stoic playbook. UFC 205, McGregor versus Eddie Álvarez. Then came UFC 205 in Madison Square Garden. Under the brightest lights in the sport, McGregor delivered what many call the greatest performance of his career. Against Eddie Álvarez, he was untouchable, calm, precise, patient. Every strike was planned, every move efficient. With a second-round TKO, he became the first fighter in UFC history to hold 2 belts simultaneously. This was the culmination of years of discipline, resilience, and mental preparation, the perfect embodiment of Stoic principles at work. McGregor's journey reminds us that greatness isn't based on talent alone. It's built on how you prepare, how you adapt, and how you control your mind in the face of chaos. In our final section, we'll uncover the lessons we can all apply from Conor McGregor's mindset, whether in sports, business, or daily life.
UFC 229, McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. If Conor's career was built on discipline and composure, his fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 229 tested those principles like never before. The buildup was chaotic. Trash talk escalated, personal insults were exchanged, and emotions reached a boiling point. For many, this was more than a fight. It was a war. Inside the octagon, Khabib imposed his will. His relentless wrestling, suffocating pressure, and unshakable calm proved too much. Conor fought hard, but in the 4th round, he was forced to submit. It was a humbling moment, a reminder that no matter how strong your mindset, there are always forces outside your control. The aftermath was as explosive as the fight itself. Khabib jumped the cage, chaos erupted, and the world watched the UFC's biggest event turn into a storm. But here's where Stoicism becomes crucial. A Stoic accepts what they cannot control. They reflect, they learn, and they move forward. McGregor himself admitted, "You must take the loss and learn from it. Humility is a lesson in itself." The fight with Khabib showed us both sides of McGregor, the brilliance of his rise and the consequences when emotions and ego take over. And yet, even in defeat, there's a Stoic lesson. True strength is not avoiding failure, but how you respond to it. For Conor, this loss became a turning point, a moment to rebuild, to grow, and to remember that no champion is invincible.
Conor McGregor's story is more than a tale of knockouts, titles, and controversy. It's a living example of the timeless truths of Stoic philosophy. From his rise in Dublin to becoming a double UFC champion, we see the power of discipline and daily preparation. From his losses to Nate Diaz and Khabib Nurmagomedov, we learn about resilience, the courage to face failure, and the humility to grow. And through every fight, we witness the importance of emotional control, the ability to stay calm when the world is watching, when pressure is at its peak. The Stoics taught us, you cannot control external events, but you can control your mind. Conor's journey proves this. Victories and defeats are temporary. What remains is how you respond, how you learn, and how you keep moving forward. Whether in sports, in business, or in life, the lesson is the same. Focus on what you can control, accept what you cannot, and face every challenge with courage, discipline, and resilience. That is the true mentality of a champion. That is the Stoic mindset. And as Conor McGregor himself once said, we're not just here to take part, we're here to take over.
If you enjoyed this breakdown of Conor McGregor's career and the stoic mindset behind his success, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Your support helps us keep creating content that inspires, motivates, and brings the wisdom of philosophy into today's world of sports and life. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video.